July 16, 1945, at around 5:30 in the morning, a bomb exploded in the desert of New Mexico State in America. However, this was not just any bomb explosion. It was the first ever test of a nuclear bomb.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The nuclear test was codenamed Trinity, and it was led by the scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was surprised by the size of the explosion. He had expected it to be around 0.3 kilotons of TNT, but in reality, the blast was 50 times more powerful and more dangerous. The explosion, estimated to be between 15 to 20 kilotons of TNT, unleashed such intense heat that it caused the steel tower was completely evaporate. The shock waves from the explosion were felt up to approximately 160 kilometers away, and the mushroom cloud generated by the blast rose up to about 12 kilometers into the sky. Upon witnessing all this, Oppenheimer was so shocked that a line from the Bhagavad Gita came to his mind. "Now I am became death, the destroyer of the worlds."
I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Oppenheimer, a movie by Christopher Nolan, who was J. Robert Oppenheimer, and how he contributed to the development of the nuclear bomb during World War II. Was Oppenheimer a hero or a villain? And how did he feel when millions of lives were lost due to his creation? Let's find out today from this video. J. Robert Oppenheimer is known as the father of the atomic bomb. He was the director of the Manhattan Project, which developed the world's first nuclear weapons. The story begins with his birth in 1904 in New York City to a German Jewish family, and from an early age, he was considered a child genius. At the age of 10, he was already studying advanced physics and chemistry, and had a profound understanding of mineralogy, including the properties of minerals. He was so knowledgeable that at the age of 12, he was invited to give lectures at the New York Mineralogical Club. When he went to study at Harvard in 1922, he completed a 4-year degree in just 3 years. He was the topper in his class, majoring in chemistry, but he had extensive knowledge in various subjects such as physics, philosophy, literature, and even Eastern religion. It was during his time at Harvard that he realized his true passion was physics. As he continued, at the age of just 30 in 1927, he obtained his PhD. However, behind this genius lay a hidden dark side. Oppenheimer's friends would say that he had self-destructive tendencies. He was a chain smoker and suffered from depression. At one point, he said to his brother, "I need physics more than friends." He was only focused on his studies, and he didn't pay much attention to what was happening in the rest of the world. Until the early 1930s, when Hitler's rise in Germany became apparent, he gradually became more politically aware. Hitler's tightening led many German scientists and workers to run to America. Among them were notable such as Albert Einstein, John von Neumann, who invented of the modern computer, and Leo Szilard, who will play an important role in our story. Hans Bethe, who discovered fusion in stars, Edward Teller, known as the father of the hydrogen bomb, and Enrico Fermi, who will play another important role in our story ahead. These scientists were mostly German Jews, including Oppenheimer himself, who hailed from a German Jewish family. As they began to witness the persecution of Jews, Oppenheimer's interest in politics grew. In 1936, he had a quote, "I began to understand how deeply political and economic events could affect man's life. I began to feel the need to participate more in the life of community." Oppenheimer started going to political meeting and discussion groups. He began giving money to support the cause like labor unions and striking farm workers. In September 1939, Hitler invaded Poland, marking the beginning of World War II. America initially had no interest in getting involved in this war, but America was preparing for the worst. What actually happened was that just about a month before the war started, in August 1939, Albert Einstein and Leo Szilard wrote a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt of America. In this letter, they warned the American president that Hitler might be working on weapons and could potentially succeed in making an extremely powerful bomb. As a result, America decided to be prepared. Upon receiving this letter, the American president immediately convened an advisory committee and took prompt action on uranium. A team of scientists and military officials was formed to research the potential of uranium. Was it possible to turn uranium into a weapon? After the findings of this committee, the American government began funding Enrico Fermi and Leo Szilard to conduct research on how to achieve a nuclear chain reaction. They also explored methods for separating different isotopes of uranium. Actually, the thing is that the uranium found naturally on Earth is the uranium-238 isotope. In fact, less than 1% of naturally occurring uranium is the uranium-235 isotope, and only this U-235 isotope could be used to make a bomb. The challenge scientists faced before shaping the bomb was to find a way to separate uranium-235 from uranium-238. However, the scientists working on this project were instructed not to inform Albert Einstein about it. This was because the American government was concerned that what Einstein believed might make him a potential security risk, as they suspected he might be a communist. At that time, Oppenheimer was conducting his own separate research on nuclear fission, along with Edward Teller and other scientists. In December 1940, another radioactive element besides uranium-235 was discovered, which scientists believed could also be used in making nuclear weapons. This element was named plutonium. On October 11, 1941, the American president sent a message to the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, suggesting that both countries should collaborate on atomic developments. Just 2 months later, on December 17, 1941, Japan launched an attack on Pearl Harbor, leading to America's official entry into World War II.
A state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese.
But at this point in time, it became clear that the scientific mission to develop nuclear weapons had shifted to a military mission. America invested $2.2 billion in this project. The American military had an engineering wing known as the Army Corps of Engineers, which was responsible for building ports and airfields for the Army. Their involvement was approved by President Roosevelt in June 1942. When they were tasked with the responsibility of developing nuclear weapons, their North Atlantic Division Office, which was located in Manhattan, New York City, moved their headquarters to the 18th floor of the same building. They named this headquarters the Manhattan Engineer District. So officially, from this point onwards, the Manhattan Project began on August 13, 1942. The following month, on September 17, Colonel Leslie Groves was appointed as the head of this project, and discussions began on appointing Oppenheimer as the leader of the atomic bomb design team. To keep this project undercover, they decided on a secret location, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. This city was also known as the Secret City because it was only dedicated to this project. Thousands of scientists, researchers, and workers were moved to this city, where their only task was to convert uranium-238 into uranium-235. The plan was to try 4 different methods to convert uranium-238 into uranium-235. After testing out 4 different technologies, gaseous diffusion, centrifuge, electromagnetic separation, and liquid thermal diffusion, 2 of them proved to be somewhat successful: electromagnetic separation and gaseous diffusion. In electromagnetic separation, a powerful magnet is used to separate uranium-235 from uranium-238. In gaseous diffusion, uranium hexafluoride gas is passed through a porous barrier, allowing the lighter molecules of uranium-235 to pass through while the heavier molecules of uranium-238 are filtered out. In addition to this, there was another separate location in Washington where work was underway on the production of plutonium. Plutonium is also produced from uranium, uranium-238. When a hydrogen isotope is bombarded with uranium-238, plutonium is produced. Later, it was discovered that plutonium is actually even more radioactive and more fissionable compared to uranium-235. Besides these two locations, efforts were being made to find a third location, referred to as Project Y, where the actual work of making and designing the bomb would take place. General Groves wanted a remote and distant location for this, so that the project could remain secret, and Oppenheimer knew exactly the kind of location. It was a place where Oppenheimer had spent his summers. After setting up in the mountainous and beautiful landscape of the Pecos Valley in New Mexico State, there was only one obvious thing left to do: to practically test out a chain reaction. So far, everything had been theoretical. At least someone needed to prove whether the concept of the atomic bomb could actually work or not. On December 2, 1942, scientists Enrico Fermi conducted the first successful practical experiment here at the University of Chicago, where they initiated a chain reaction that caused a bulb to light up.
The clickety-clack of their instruments proved they had achieved the first human-made nuclear chain reaction.
By this point, General Groves had become very impressed with Oppenheimer's capabilities, and he wanted to appoint him the director of Project Y. However, some senior military members had suspected about Oppenheimer. The same suspicions that existed regarding Albert Einstein also applied to Oppenheimer. Many of Oppenheimer's friends, including his wife and even his brother, were actually communists. They were deeply influenced by left-wing ideologies. America was concerned that these communists could pose a threat to their country. However, despite these concerns, General Groves personally supported Oppenheimer and stated that the project couldn't proceed without him. He believed that Oppenheimer was essential for the project. July 20, 1943, Oppenheimer was appointed as the leader of this project. In the process of making an atomic bomb, Oppenheimer's expertise was crucial for calculating the critical mass. The critical mass is essentially the minimum amount of uranium-235 or plutonium required to initiate and sustain a chain reaction necessary for a nuclear explosion. It determines the minimum quantity of the radioactive element needed to achieve a chain reaction and create a detonation. Today, it may sound simple to hear, but there were many unknown factors at that time. Scientists knew very little about the properties of uranium-235, and plutonium-239 had only been discovered in 1940, with just 2 milligrams of plutonium produced by the end of 1943. That's why America was developing 2 atomic bombs here. The first bomb based on uranium-235 was named Little Boy. Here come the interesting part of the video. The mechanism of this bomb is essentially a gun-type design, where 2 subcritical masses of uranium-235 are brought together at high speed. These masses are below the critical value, but when they are rapidly combined, the resulting combination reaches critical mass, initiating a fission chain reaction, leading to a powerful explosion. The second bomb was the plutonium bomb, which utilized plutonium-239, and its name was Fat Man. It was difficult to use a gun-type design because if 2 masses of plutonium were combined with each other, the reaction would occur too quickly, and before reaching critical mass, the fission reaction would stop.
Plutonium gun bomb will melt, not explode.
Here, scientists created a different design for the plutonium bomb, where the mass of plutonium was compressed under high pressure and density within a spherical structure. Inside a hollow sphere, a subcritical mass of plutonium was placed, and explosives were used outside the sphere to create an implosion onto the plutonium mass. When the explosives detonated, the plutonium experienced high pressure, reaching critical mass. This concept is called the implosion method. While scientists were already familiar with the gun method, the implosion method was initially proposed theoretically. Oppenheimer insisted on testing it out before using it into the bomb. General Groves initially said that we couldn't test these things because we had produced so little plutonium. But Oppenheimer insisted that testing was very necessary here, and General Groves eventually agreed. Then, Trinity test was conducted. I have mentioned this topic at the beginning of the video. In the desert of Mexico, detonate a test bomb. This test bomb was named Gadget. In this bomb, almost 13 pounds of plutonium was used. With the help of steel tower, the bomb was lifted 100 feet high. July 16, 1945, morning 5:30 this bomb was detonated. As I told that was far beyond expectations. The steel tower was completely evaporated. After bomb was blast, there was mildly radioactive of green glass formation called trinitite. After seeing that blast, Oppenheimer says a quote,
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Not even complete 1 month after test. In August 6, 1945, little boy was dropped at Hiroshima. That was not end. After 3 days plutonium bomb, Fat Man, plutonium bomb was also dropped at city of Nagasaki. First reaction of Albert Einstein was, "Woe is me," when he get news of that. It was a heart-touching statement. Albert Einstein was supposed to believe that mankind invented the atomic bomb, but no mouse would ever construct a mousetrap. Oppenheimer was celebrating with great joy after dropping the bomb on Hiroshima. He believed that this could be used against Germany, against Hitler. But after dropping the bomb on Nagasaki, Oppenheimer was completely shocked. August 17, 1945, he was going to Washington to meet Secretary of War, to deliver a letter written by himself. He said that he wanted to ban nuclear weapons. He felt a huge regret that what he did this, why this technology was handed to mankind. Oppenheimer considered the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima was a necessary event, but he began to fear about the future. In future, how would this technology be used by different countries? In this time, President Franklin Roosevelt dies. Truman became the President of America. About 2 months after the bombing of Nagasaki, Oppenheimer gets the opportunity to meet President Truman. Meeting the president, he directly says to him, "I have blood on my hands." And President Truman becomes so angry upon hearing this that he starts to swear. And he tells his secretary to take out Oppenheimer from his office and never want to see their face again. Oppenheimer went on to work with the Atomic Energy Commission of U.S. to stop such nuclear attacks. He wanted to establish control over nuclear weapons. In 1949, President Truman approached with the idea that a hydrogen bomb should be developed, but Oppenheimer strongly opposed it. But that opposition didn't have much effect because America went ahead and developed a hydrogen bomb and tested in 1952. Edward Teller was the scientist who helped create the hydrogen bomb and is known as the father of the hydrogen bomb. Oppenheimer lost his security clearance because of his opposition against nuclear policies, and he was suspected as communist. He spent his remaining life in the academic profession and traveled around the world giving lectures. Even though for Nobel Prize he was nominated 3 times, but he never won it. In 1967, Oppenheimer passed away due to throat cancer at the age of 62. No surprises there because as he was a heavy chain smoker throughout his life. As of today, there are no countries without nuclear weapons, but the fact remains that for the past 80 years no country has used nuclear weapons again. If you like the video, please subscribe, click the like button and share. Thank you very much. See you in next video.